Number 001, the county of Mombasa, which is a beautiful one and has a lot of promise and a lot of heritage in it and a lot to be told from here, and stories and things that can spread beyond its borders. And we are right next to the beautiful Indian Ocean in the county of Mombasa, and the sights are breathtaking. The wind just whistling by us is a great reminder of where we are and the conversation we are about to have, because our conversation is about the blue economy, how to harness the blue economy, and we've got the relevant people here to speak to us about it from where they each sit. And it's going to be an exciting conversation here at KMFRI, that is the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute offices here in Mombasa, and we are going to be having some questions as well from the audience here to just give us their questions and thoughts on what this thing called blue economy is, because we do appreciate that not those who are here, but generally in the country we have some people who may not be as conversant with what this is, but we believe by the time we are closing this program live on NTV, we're going to be having a clearer picture of what this is about. So I'm going to introduce my guests, beginning from my immediate left, and we have Professor James Njiru, who's the Director General of KMFRI, that's Kenya Maritime and Fisheries Research Institute. He's basically our host here today. Thank you for joining us, Professor. And next to him, we have Daniel Kiange, who's the Secretary General of the Intergovernmental Standing Committee on Shipping, or ISCOS. Thank you for joining us as well. And to my far right, we have Captain Geoffrey Namadoa, who's the Harbour Master and General Manager of Marine Operations at the Kenya Ports Authority. Thank you for joining us as well. Thank you all, gentlemen. And maybe I'll just begin with you, Prof. Just to kick us off, there are some, we don't want to assume there's many who know what exactly KMFRI is and what it does. Maybe just give us a brief so that we can start getting to this conversation about harnessing the blue economy.
Thank you very much. As you just said, my name is James Njiru, current Director General, Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. It's not Kenya Maritime, it's not KMFRI, Kenya Medical Research Institute, and many more names. Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute is a state corporation enacted, established by an Act of Parliament, Science and Technology Act of 2013, which has since been repealed. Our main work is to do research in marine, fisheries, aquaculture, environment, and of course physical and chemical in the ocean. But probably before I go to the next, I want to say that we are under the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and cooperatives, excuse me, of course, ended by Honorable Peter Munya, and we are under the State Department of Fisheries, Aquaculture, and the Blue Economy, ended by Dr. Francis Owino. And of course, the institute is led by a board of management, led by Honorable John Safari Momba, who is our chairman. Kenya Marine has several stations spread all over the country. Where there is a water, we have a station from Turkana all the way to Naivasha, all the way to Mombasa. Mombasa is our headquarters, but we have other state stations. So our key work as an institution is to give information, is research. For the, we give information in terms of exploitation of the blue economy. So ours is research for the policy and for management of the resources.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Prof. My apologies. It's the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. And I want to come to Captain before I come to Bwana Daniel. And Captain, who's at my far right, in your own estimation, especially being a person at the Kenya Ports Authority, which is quite key to this blue economy, where do you feel we are at in terms of the country, in terms of harnessing the blue economy? Do you think we still have a long way to go, or do you think we are at a very bad place? What is your own estimation as a person who sits pretty much at the heart of the blue economy conversation?
Thank you very much. As I respond to your question, let me start by saying that, first of all, we need to understand what are the elements of blue economy. A blue economy is one that has the ability to strategically coordinate and execute fishing activities, port operation systems, dry docking and ship repairs, shipbuilding, ship breakdown and recycling. So looking at those few elements which I've mentioned, I will comfortably say that as a start, Kenya is at a good stage. We are progressing so well. And remember, the government took it upon itself to ensure that there is a state Department of Maritime Affairs, that is responsible for matters pertaining to maritime, which are related to the blue economy. So in a nutshell, yes, as a Kenya government and as a country, I think we are at a good stage and we started quite well and we are progressing well.
Okay, and I want to bring him ISCOS, because you deal with more than just Kenya. When you look at Kenya vis-a-vis our neighbors, where do we stand? Are we leading the pack? Traditionally, we've been, the economic powerhouse of the region, so to speak. When it comes to the blue economy, are we leading, or are we, somewhere in stiff competition with some of our neighbors?
Thank you, Dan. And I just want to, before I respond to your question, kindly let me introduce ISCOS, because probably some of the members here or listening to us may not know what is ISCOS. ISCOS stands for Intergovernmental Standing Committee on Shipping. It is a committee comprising of 4 countries. That's the Republic of Kenya, the Republic of Uganda, the United Republic of Tanzania, and the Republic of Zambia. The organization was formed way back in 1967, mainly to promote, coordinate, and protect the shipping and maritime interests of the member states. We are now trying to grow in numbers. We used to operate as 4 countries, but now the country, in line of the greater integration principles, is now trying to grow in the region. We are currently targeting the regional members. Actually, in March 10th, we had an assembly of ministers in Uganda, Entebbe, which was attended by 12 countries. And these countries signed a memorandum of intent through resolutions to work together in area of collaboration. So ISCOS now, we are mainly in the area of, or the space of transport, maritime shipping, and also advocacy. But now to come to your question, where I see Kenya in regard to the region, I think Kenya is well placed in terms of blue economy exploitation, because I remember 2018, Kenya hosted the Blue Economy Nairobi Conference, which actually gave birth to a number of initiatives in the country. And I believe when I look at Kenya from that initiative, the government of Kenya went ahead and established a full state department, the State Department of Shipping and Maritime under Nasi Garigidu, PS, and of course the Minister of Transport and PS James Macharia. The rest of the countries, when you look at them, they are still trying, but in terms of where we are, I think Kenya, from ISCOS point of view, is still ahead, because they put up the State Department. Majority of other countries are still not at that level.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. I'm told there's a bit of a challenge with the microphone, and as we address that, my apologies. We'll get back to you in just a bit. I just want to come back again to, and this is a question really to all three gentlemen, and he's alluded to it. In 2018, there was the huge forum on the blue economy that Kenya hosted, and it was, touted as a landmark, a very significant one. Since then until now, what fruit of it have we seen playing out in your individual institutions? Maybe we begin with you, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think let me start with your question, where we are in Kenya in terms of blue economy. I think we are number one in Africa. Let me say why. One, I think in terms of momentum and in terms of leadership, there's no other country in Africa which has led from the front. Starting with His Excellency the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, who one is the patron of the Ocean Decade Alliance. I'll be coming to that later on. He is also in the high-level panel in terms of the ocean issues. I'll come back to that later on. We had a kick-off meeting in Egypt last week, where I was able to attend, and we have a roadmap in terms of what we want for the ocean. Since 2018, November 2018, actually 2016, when we had the ZBEC, what we call the Sustainable Blue Economy, I think it was the first in terms of it in Africa, actually in the world. The first Sustainable Blue Economy was held in Kenya. It was the first, and that's leadership again, which was led by our Excellency the President. We had about 178 leaders coming from all over the world. And the idea which was brought to Nairobi, of course, we came with what we call the Nairobi Statement of Intent, was to bring the issue of blue economy to our doorsteps. And it was the first time, not in Africa, when such a symposium was held. And we are picked from there. And as I've said, the UN also in its 75th Assembly started implementing issues of the blue economy. And what it did allow me to, it tasked what we call the IOC UNESCO. IOC UNESCO is Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO. And the umbrella of under the umbrella of the UN, what IOC does is to bring countries together. We are about 150 countries under the umbrella of IOC. And the idea of the IOC is to coordinate and to implement issues pertaining the ocean. Because ocean is one. We don't have two oceans. When we talk about Atlantic, Pacific, at the end of the day, the ocean is one. So the UN saw it's good or important to go that way. And I want to say that in terms of the institutions, in terms of our institution, what we are doing, we are an executive member of the IOC UNESCO. I sit in the board, and our ambassador in Paris sits in the board. And we are able to form in terms of policy issues, to influence policy issue in terms of the ocean. But as a research institution, we have done a lot in terms of informing the world, and probably we'll be coming back to this later on in terms of what we are doing, because as I said earlier on, our role is to inform in terms of information, so that the government and also the world at large is able to implement policies, laws based on facts. And that is our role as an institution. And that's what we have been doing. Allow me to say that in the next 10 years, the UN also, through the IOC UNESCO, declared the 10 years as what we call the ocean decade of the ocean decade. We call the decade of ocean science. And the decade of the ocean science, I'm very happy that now we are bringing this to the fora, that ocean are very important. And you have brought this conversation next to the ocean. And I want to tell you what you are breathing, the oxygen you are breathing, 50% of it is from the ocean. And if the ocean today was to die, probably we'll all be dying, we'll all be dead. And the conversation we're having today, and as our institution, our institution, is try and reverse what is happening in the ocean. The ocean has a lot of benefits in terms of food, in terms of climate change, but the ocean is a danger. And if this is not reversed, probably in a couple of years to come, and we are all seeing what is happening with the climate change. the ocean is the greatest buffer in terms of climate change. And when you destroy the ocean, we are destroying ourselves. So as a research institution, we'll be talking later on what we have done in terms of mitigating the climate using the natural-based system and others, like planting of mangroves. Thank you very much.
Right, so I also want to just come to Captain first, just to tell us, since that 2018 forum, what exactly, what have we seen that's tangible out of that playing out at the KPA?
Thank you very much. In fact, as I answer your question, I'll give it from national approach, not just KPA. From the time we had that forum, 3 to 4 key elements of the blue economy have been implemented by the government. First and foremost, we've been able to upgrade the former Bandar College to now an academy in order to enhance human capacity as far as maritime trade is concerned. That's one. Two, since then, the government has been able to have the Kenya Coast Guard services. Why? Because that is very key as we start developing as far as the blue economy is concerned. We need to safeguard the resources. And the resources are all outside the Kenyan territorial waters. So the key thing, first of all, was to secure the resources. And that's why the government moved, first of all, to have the Coast Guard in place. Then, recently, the government has set up a shipyard, Kenya Shipyards Limited. What does this mean? It has now brought to the local level that we are able to construct our own shore-going vessels, sea-going vessels, so that we are providing both employment and also providing revenue to the country. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. From the ISCOS point of view, did that forum bear much fruit that is tangible for you and for your stakeholders?
Thank you. I hope my mic is now okay.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes. From that conference of 2018, I think as ISCOS, we have picked a number of issues, mainly at the regional level. And as I mentioned, ours is mainly advisory, advocacy, and research. And therefore, what we do at the regional level in terms of the blue economy is that we bring together a number of stakeholders. We are not regulatory, but we have the mandate of coordinating the region. So we have set a number of forums where we bring together a number of stakeholders, mainly to deliberate, discuss, and agree on how to do shipping and to coordinate other related activities. We have a forum, for instance, for the maritime administrations in the region. This forum brings together all the maritime administration in the region. For instance, Kenya, we have Kenya Maritime Authority. We have TASAC in Tanzania. Uganda, we have a direct department responsible for that. Ethiopia and other people. So what these people come to do is to come and discuss in the issue of shipping and logistics. Shipping is part and a key component of the blue economy, because as we are aware, is that over 90% of trade in terms of volume goes through the oceans. So if we don't protect through regulations these oceans, then we are killing ourselves, as the professor said. And therefore, these forums come together to look at what do we do, how do we harmonize the regulations that govern operations of shipping and trade in the region. We have a forum for the maritime training institutions, because we want to build capacities for the future generation and exploitation of the blue economy. So we bring together Bandari Academy Dar es Salaam Academy and other academies in the region to discuss, even the universities, what is it for the region in the blue economy? How do we prepare ourselves to get full advantage of this particular economy? And as the captain has said, I think, not the captain, sorry, Professor, going forward, due to climate change, the countries that will develop are those who are going to exploit the blue economy. Because now we can no longer rely on rain agriculture. There's a lot of on and off of the rains, but the water is there. And if we take good care of the waters, then we can actually be assured of our food. Because through research, we can be able to do such things. So we have created those forums. We also have a forum on security, which brings together security agencies like Coast Guards, Marine Police, and the rest, just at the regional level, to look at how do we ensure that we are able to carry cargo across the region, and at the same time, we are able to ensure security. We avoid things like pollution, because ships actually carry a lot of fuel, and if that fuel finds its way in the oceans, then that is a disaster. So these are some of the things we are doing as a region, and even moving at the continental level to see as Africa, how do we coordinate, collaborate in terms of the blue economy. I mentioned the forum we had in Entebbe, which brought about 12 countries in the region, because we need to look at ourselves as a region. The professor said that the ocean, there's no boundary. So whatever happens in Kenya has an impact in Dar es Salaam, has an impact in Mozambique, and therefore we must think regionally. We must think globally if we have to survive and exploit blue economy. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And gentlemen, I just want us to again go back to what I may call the basics, just so that we again do not assume that we are all in this ship and we are all in the same place. Many times when people think of the blue economy, the thought of what job opportunities there are, I will just think of many people just think about working on a ship, or you know, a lot of the jobs that have to do with the port. Maybe Prof could tell us what other opportunities have been coming up that many may not see as an opportunity as a result of the blue economy.
Thank you again. I think, let me start, even if you didn't want to hear about the jobs, I think they are very critical. And I would want to see what the government has done. Again, the president has led from the front in terms of enabling this institution to train young Kenyans. And he gave us an order to train 1,000 Kenyans every year. We have trained now about 300 Kenyans. We are planning to train another, as you speak today, young Kenyans boarded to go and be trained. The problem has been, in terms of the ships we flag, we give license to Kenya, we have no crew members. We have been importing labor from West Africa, Seychelles and other countries. And allow me to give you a scenario very quickly in terms of why jobs are important. These crew members who board the ship, in a month they earn about $100, about $1,000. And in 6 months, that's about 600 or whatever, you multiply that. And if you have 1,000 of them, you can see how much they will get. And if you have 5,000, we are seeing this can bring about almost 6 billion Kenya shillings only on employment. So it's very key. And we have been lacking this. So those who have been coming here and exploiting our resources have been coming with crew from other countries. And we are young Kenyans, we have no jobs. So that's a plus in terms of blue economy and in terms of our government. The other areas where we can get advantage in terms of blue economy, of course, is a community. And we, as a research institution and as a country, we have been engaging the community very closely. Like yesterday, we are in a place known as Gaze, in Bamba, in Kilifi, whereby our researchers are engaging in what we call in arid and semi-arid areas and growing of fish. So we are taking the knowledge to the local communities. We have been working with other communities like Kilifi, Dabaso, mostly made of women and young men, whom we have taught on how to farm fish so that they can be able to sustain themselves. So there are also those opportunities in terms of farming fish, in terms of mariculture. And it's not only on fish, we have other things like prawn, shrimps, and the rest. Sea cucumbers, which are very high level in terms of price. If I go back to, again, terms of grooves, which you probably will be talking about later on, again, there are very many opportunities. What we are doing as an institution, led by our chief scientist known as Dr. Cairo, and he's the first in the world to involve communities in terms of what we call carbon credits, whereby we allow the local community to plant trees, not to destroy the trees. And they are given about 2.5 million Kenya shillings every year. And this money, they use it for their own children in terms of books, in terms of infrastructure. Very many opportunities. Now we have moved to Vanga, we are moving to Lamu. The money has increased in Vanga Blue Forest from 2.4 million to 5 million. These are opportunities in blue economy which we did not see, and which can change the life of the local mwananchi, the local person at the coast. So apart from those jobs, there are many other opportunities, and as such institution, we are at the forefront in terms of provision of information, which is forming, which is very key in terms of policy in this country.
All right, thank you very much. And one thing I also remember when we covered a Blue Economy Forum in Kisumu, there was also the fashion and beauty space, because you could see people who are coming up with, attire from fish skin and the shells and the like. So it's a broad one as well. It's one that is not as appreciated, I believe. It's a lot of potential, as all of you would agree with me, but not exploited as it should be. And Daniel, I wanted to find out from you, because you said that you largely are on the advisory part. Especially for you who are in the shipping and the logistics space, so to speak. What happens when there is lack of political goodwill? Because it's such a collaborative thing. Kenya will not act in isolation when you come to crossing borders. As much as the ocean is one, you said if it affects Kenya, it will affect Tanzania, etc. So one of the things about harmonizing the policies in the different countries so that we can have a common goal. But what happens when there is no, political goodwill from one of the partners?
I think if whenever we lack political goodwill in any of the countries, is a recipe for disaster. Because as I've said, we cannot act independently to harness and exploit the resources effectively. Therefore, ours actually as a region is to, one, advocate and devise and pray that our leaders in high authorities will be able to hear the cry of mwananchi for collaboration. Because if Kenya, for instance, decides to do their own things and mess this ocean, which is behind us, then the effect of that will go all the way to Tanzania and probably even to Seychelles. And therefore, lack of goodwill or political goodwill is not something we should like to see. Thank you.
All right, and it's interesting that you say at a point it is left to prayer. We pray that the leadership is going to give the political goodwill. And I think one of the things that having covered matters to do with the East African region for years, one of the concerns consistently had been about, say, Tanzania not playing ball. Has this also, hindered some of the advice that should have wanted to give to the different governments?
I think currently we do not have any problem with Tanzania. There could have been issues in the past where probably the relationship between Kenya and Tanzania, particularly at the ESC, was not very good. But fortunately now, particularly under the new leadership of President Samia Suluhu and Uhuru Kenyatta. I think the working relationship between the two countries has been super, and even those who have been traveling across, those who maybe do business or travel across the borders can attest to that. The relationship between Kenya and Tanzania now is very good. There are no issues even at the borders. And even Uganda, for the first time for a long time, I'm happy to see East Africa community talking in one voice. And I think that's the way to go.
All right, thank you for that. Captain, from the KPA standpoint, you know, again, I'm trying to help demystify, you know, perceptions that KPA is largely about those big containers that we see and the likes, at Mombasa especially. But KPA has been moving to other, setting up projects like, say, in Kisumu. There's a lot of the great plans that are there. What are some of the opportunities that you see this growth by KPA creating for the communities around these different ports that are there?
Thank you. As you correctly said, people have always associated KPA with the Port of Mombasa. KPA is the managing body. We now have 2 commercial ports in Kenya. That is the Port of Mombasa and the Port of Lamu. The mandate for Kenya Ports Authority is to develop, operate, and manage scheduled and gazetted ports. Now, recently, I think it was in 2012, that was expanded to include the inland waterways, which therefore means like the Lake Victoria, all the ports within the Lake Victoria, which there are about 13 of them. Most of you just know the port of Kisumu. They previously were under Kenya Railway Corporation, but they are now under Kenya Ports Authority. So, with the presence of Kenya Ports Authority at the lake and far north now within the Lamu County, that has changed the lives of people within that area. Let me start with Lamu. You're all aware that His Excellency the President commissioned the Port of Lamu last year in May. From the time the Port of Lamu was commissioned, a lot of socio-economical activities have really improved. Land that used to go for about 300,000 has shot up. To get land around the Port of Lamu, ranging from Peketoni, Hindi, you'll be very lucky if you'll get land going for less than 6 million right now. Which indeed means the presence of Kenya Ports Authority within Lamu County has made property to go up. Talk of the connectivity to the other parts of Kenya. 3 to 5 years ago, going to Lamu was a nightmare. You'll think twice before you think of going to Lamu County. Right now, the roads have been so well done, courtesy of Kenya, Kenha. Now you can move from Port of Mombasa to Port of Lamu within 4 hours. In other words, you can go to Lamu from morning, and in the evening you are back in Mombasa. So that's the second thing that the presence of Kenya Ports Authority has done as far as Lamu County is concerned. Talk of the direct benefit to the locals in Lamu. Upon commissioning of the Port of Lamu, the government, through Kenya Ports Authority, recruited over 100 staff or personnel from Lamu County. That is a direct impact on the persons or people within the county. As it is right now, Kenya is putting up more better connectivity between the port of Lamu and the more hinterland as far as Kenya is concerned, connecting all the way up to South Sudan and Ethiopia. Going the other side, on the side of Kisumu. Kisumu, we will all appreciate that before Kenya Ports Authority moved into the lake region, there were no activities within Lake Victoria. Now, we are able to move wagons between the port of Kisumu and Entebbe and the ports in Tanzania. We have now a capacity of 800 TUs within Kisumu, but as the government plans to connect the SGR to Port of Kisumu, we have a target of 6,000 TUs to be within the Port of Kisumu. So this is also going to improve the local or the domestic industry in as far as direct employment is concerned. And because of the presence of Kenya Ports Authority and therefore the Harbour operations, the Kenya shipyard has also collocated itself within the port, and they have been able to construct 2 very good crafts that are able to conduct business between the lake ports within Lake Victoria. And of course, as I said, KPA has now plans to develop and operate all the other smaller 12 ports within Lake Victoria. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And a lot of insights coming here just in terms of the opportunity. Oh, you wanted to say something on that? Okay.
Thank you, Captain. I want also to take this opportunity to sincerely thank KPA. I was in Kisumu recently, and when I compare the port of Kisumu, the way it is and the way it used to be, there's a lot of change. Last week we had a big forum in Kampala. We do run a stakeholders forum for trade facilitation and shipping for inland waterways. One in Lake Victoria and another one for Lake Tanganyika at the moment. We are planning to go to other lakes like Lake Turkana, Lake Kifu, and the rest. And therefore, what KPA has done in terms of infrastructure and by extension the government of Kenya is commendable. And I think that is the way to go. Fortunately, even in the other countries at the region, equally investing a lot in the area of infrastructure. For instance, in Uganda, there's a new facility coming at a place known as Kauawi, where we have Maathi Infra is doing a lot of a very big storage for fuel, with I think a capacity of 70 million or so. And they have done 2 big ships. These ships are supposed to be flying between Kisumu and the Maathi region and also Mwanza. And also Tanzania. Tanzania also are doing very well. They have also building new ships. They have already, I think, about 3 ships which are operational, and there's also another one under construction. So what that tells us, at the regional level, people are not taking lightly the issue and the resources and the potential of the blue economy. And therefore, what KPA and the rest of the government agencies are doing to invest in Kenya is commendable, because at the regional level, we will be able to exploit the resources of the blue economy as a region, and that is very commendable.
Right.
So, regards. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And we'll take a short break on this live broadcast, on this live forum, coming to you from the county of Mombasa, county number 1001. We'll be back after this short break as we continue to delve into the issues to do with the blue economy and how to harness it, and also just the opportunities that are there across the board. Stay with us. Arnold, how many minutes is the break? Welcome back to this live forum, coming to you live from the county of Mombasa, which is about harnessing the blue economy and the great potential that's in it, and seeing what opportunities there are, and just understanding the deeper sense of what it has to hold and what it has to offer. And we're coming to you live from the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute, which is in the county of Mombasa. And I'll just come to you, Prof. And when you speak to many researchers, many times they will tell you we usually give a lot of this quality information to governments for, for implementation in policy, but you hear researchers, not just in terms of for your institution, but across the board, some get some sense of frustration because some of their proposals do not see light of day, either because of political expediency or just because maybe the final decision makers are not as keen on the same. Do you at times feel like, as researchers, that some of your efforts do not get as appreciated in terms of, just giving some sense of direction for the country and the blue economy specifically?
First, allow me to dwell back to the decade again. The theme of the ocean decade, that's the 10 years between now 2021 and 2030, the theme is the science we need for the oceans we want. The theme was not done by scientists, and I'll be coming back to your question. It was done by people who sit in the UN, mostly our ministers and our president. And they have realized that without science, we are not going far. Without facts, we are not going far. Indeed, yes, in the beginning, scientists have been speaking to themselves. We have been talking to ourselves, and we have not been communicating. But I think this is going to be a thing of the past. Based on the situation, what is happening right now in the world, and we have seen the things to do with the climate change, and I think my colleagues have alluded to it. And the science we have has shown us, and the science is not lying, that the ocean is at a very dangerous position. And although in the beginning probably researchers felt they are frustrated, they are not communicating, again, we have been having training mechanism whereby the research is being packaged in such a way that it is able to reach the policy makers. Like here, what we do in Kenya Marine, we have what we call the policy briefs. We have also gotten people who can be able to interpret science, like the gentleman who is connected you to us here. Is our lead, Ezekiel is our lead person in terms of communication. Because scientists do not know how to communicate, including myself, probably. But if we give communication and communication and strategy persons, they have been able to sort of make it a little bit better for the policymakers to realize what we are doing. But as I said, as we are moving on, the policymakers have realized they need the science. And as scientists, we have realized we need to go down and be able to make it simple for the policymakers to understand what we are doing. Because at the end of the day, it is the facts, it is the science, it is the knowledge, it is the information which you are generating, which will be very key in terms of policy, in terms of management, in terms of all the guidelines you are going to have. Yes, we do feel frustrated earlier on, but I think this is changing, as also things are changing, and also our policy makers are also listening to us. Earlier on, probably nobody will listen to a professor when he talks about climate change. And when I was in the office with my colleague here, we did allude to the idea of, allow me, Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai would shout at the top of her voice and tell us probably the next war will be on water. And nobody would listen. We thought this is a mad, allow me to say, this is a mad woman. But down the road, 5 years, 10 years down the road, we are seeing what is happening in the climate now, in the climate change. If we had listened to the science she was talking about, probably we will not be where we are in terms of clearing our forests, in terms of whatever we did. But now I think our scientists are listening, and we are very happy, like in Kenya. I don't want to emphasize without a fear of contradiction that our president himself has led from the front in terms of accepting science. And he has been very supportive in terms of science. Like the stock assessment we are doing, it was last done in 1980. And when we approached our president, he did give us money, almost to a tune of 1 billion in terms of stock assessment in the ocean. Right now, we used to have 20,000 to harvest like 26,000 metric tons of in the ocean. We are now telling our policy makers, in the ocean we have almost 150,000 metric tons to 300,000 metric tons. They are listening to us. That is science we are talking about. And if you invest this, if you exploit this resource from the patri 5 billion we are getting now, the science is telling us you can now get between 50 billion Kenya shillings to 100 billion Kenya shillings. That is a plus. When you start talking money to the politicians, to our MPs, to our ministers, he start listening. And I think they're listening to us. And I want to thank my scientists who are here and other scientists. I think now we are communicating, and I'm very happy. And especially in the decade, the next 10 years, we'd want to pump a lot of science, but in a very systematic way to our policymakers, because at the end of the day, if they did not listen, we don't get the money, because they're the ones who give us the money. So I think we are not as frustrated as I used to be. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just throw it again to the gentleman again. How do we move as a country from being very good with plans on paper, but not as good on the ground. You know, we are told that, you know, we are very good at planning, and in terms of strategies, blueprints and you know, long-term plans, etc. That would, you know, big words are used, revolutionize the industry or, you know, revamp the economy. But when it comes to implementation, that is where we kind of hit a wall. You know, what needs to be done to ensure that, at least for, if you listen to the three of you at the list speaking about the blue economy, the conviction you have, how do we make sure that this does not fall, you know, into the same trap as many other great things have been that end up just remaining on the shelf? Maybe I can pick it up first with you, Captain, as we come this way.
One thing we must realize and appreciate is the fact that implementing blue economy projects is very expensive, very expensive. So as we come up with programs, we must plan in such a way that we have funds available for the programs. As you say, there are programs which are planned for, but they are never implemented. Why? Because funds are not availed. By the moment you do your proper feasibility study, then you do the proper costing and budget for it, and you get the approvals, then the projects will be implemented. I'll give you good examples, citing from Kenya Ports Authority. Kenya Ports Authority has undertaken quite massive projects as far as modernization and expansion of the Port of Mombasa is concerned, all to work towards assisting sustainable blue economy. We have come up with the Dogokundu Special Economic Zone. This is an area where we are going to put up a bath together with facilities, yeah, to enable the locals utilize the facility for various types of economies. One, we're going to put up an LPG, the liquid natural gas terminal, which will assist the present LPG facility that we already have. And there are also plans to have equivalent of what we have in Dubai, so that we can have it at the Port of Mombasa. And this will be done, of course, having berths which have got deep drafts up to 15 meters and a big berth of 300 meters. Apart from that, the Kenya Ports Authority is also developing Shimoni Port as a major fishing port. This will enhance economy within that area and even further to northern Tanzania. But all these projects must be planned for, and that's why KPA has already embarked on these projects. And as far as the Shimoni Port is concerned, we have already now started with construction of the jetty, which is a space for berthing or parking of fishing vessels. And then thereafter, we're going to put up a fish storage facility that will be utilized by the fishers. On top of that, within the Port of Mombasa, in order to enhance the blue economy, plans are underway to revitalize or to have the services that we used to have before. This is the bunkering services. Bunkering services is whereby vessels will only come in purposely for refueling. And by so doing, we are gaining a lot, because when a vessel comes in, then we are going to get light dues, we are going to get piloted dues. So basically, marine charges for a vessel just coming in and going out, which is quite a lot of money. And the only way to do that is to make sure that the bunkering services are available. But of course, as Kenya Ports Authority, we have to work in collaboration with the Kenya Revenue Authority, so that the services are actually availed competitively with the other countries like Mauritius and Seychelles. In addition to the expansion of the Dogokund area, we also have expanded the container terminal by adding extra capacity for the Port of Mombasa. The Port of Mombasa right now capacity is 1.6 million TEUs per year. Last year, we handled 1.4 million TEUs, which means we are almost hitting the capacity. And therefore, we have decided to expand the port by adding another berth. By so doing, we have provided an extra yard with an additional space of 4,450 TEUs. So you add that to the present or the current yard space, we are now going to have 2.1 million TEUs as capacity for the port, which is all working towards promoting and sustaining the blue economy.
Okay, maybe Daniel could tell us what, in your view, would need to happen so that we don't get caught up in this, hitting this wall when it comes to implementation of all these, great gems of advice that you give to the various stakeholders, and the same for the gentlemen here. What needs to be done to ensure that this implementation actually bears the fruit it's actually expected to?
Thank you. I think the main issue actually for us as technocrats is mainly to advise the governments, and as part of that advice, we need not just to advise, we need also to sensitize the policy makers. We also need not just to sensitize, but also to lobby, because the main problem is that some of the policy makers do not understand what needs to be done. And they may look at a particular proposal in terms of how much are we putting this, as opposed to what is the output of this initiative. So I think what needs to be done by organizations like the ones we are leading in this forum is to put that effort to sensitize both the political people and also the technical people who are at the policy level. As once they buy in, then I believe that they will be able to avail resources, the funds which my colleagues have mentioned about, because there is no plan or policy that will go without the budget. So allocation of that budget is critical. And those people will only allocate that budget once they are able to see the impact of those plans. Doing a proposal, doing a plan without that understanding at that level might not be enough. But fortunately, I think now for the blue economy, it is important that, and we are lucky at this generation, that the climate itself is teaching everybody, whether you are a politician, a technocrat, that something needs to be done at the climate level and at the blue economy level, so that if we don't act as mankind, then we are digging our own grave in a very near future. And that, I think, is a big plus for this generation.
Thank you very much. I think I would want to concur with my colleague here. One, awareness is very key. Leading from the front by the politicians, the policymakers is very key. And allow me to give examples, especially in Kenya. And as I said earlier on, the political will in Kenya is very good. And it's led none other than His Excellency the President. And allow me to give you one or two examples which His Excellency the President has led from the front. In our law, fisheries management, it says that you are supposed to land like 30% of the catch back in Kenya, back on our waters after you are fished. But there was no place to land the fish. And as they say, as my colleague said, we made this aware to our politicians, and Liwatoni is